Hello everybody, welcome to NEOStreams. My name is Alex Schacht. With me as always is former national champion Chris Fulop, and we are playing with my favorite card in Standard, Empoleon. This is a deck based mostly around Empoleon and his pudgy little pink friend. I'm not talking about Mew, I'm talking about Ditto. So we're going to get right into this deck. What is it trying to do?
Is it safe to say that you like Ditto?
A little bit.
Ditto. Continue.
Wow.
Yeah.
If you want to see someone kill themselves on camera, almost.
I'm used to a newsman.
Alright, let's continue with the Empoleon.
If you don't know what Empoleon does, it discards one card to draw two cards. Pretty
It's nice to have draw power and this
safe
format.
power level, and that is you're gonna bring that up. Draw power in this format? What?
The whole format is very N reliant, and most decks don't have, like, we had Magnezone before, and like we had the N equivalent back in the day, Rocket's Admin, and there were Pidgeot, there was Porygon 2 that let you draw cards. You had like Deoxys, Jirachi. Like, you had cards that let you passively draw cards during your turn.
But
and
not
now we're in a
power. Yeah, that's.
I mean, those are all Pokemon powers before.
Oh yeah, the Pidgeot ones. But
and Magnezone, but there's nothing in this format that, like, you can do like Musharna, but that card is awful.
That card doesn't kill a lot of stuff like Attack Command does. That's 10 times the number of Pokemon in play. So this deck's not only trying to gain an advantage off Diving Draw as ending its opponent, it's a very good end deck, but it's also trying to Attack Command for a lot, as much as it possibly can without its opponents playing around it.
And some decks are very, like, bench heavy, like, so they're not really able to play around like Eels.
One of your best matchups, Eels, if you are very good against Eels, and that's because they have to keep a heavy bench, and it's not even their fault. And you
can kill their Eels with Attack Command pretty easily, and they're not really running as many lightning attackers as you'd think they are anymore.
Not anymore.
Like, if you're killing their Eels, they can't really keep. It takes 3 energies for Rayquaza to kill your Empoleon.
That's huge that it does do that. But it is a 4.
And like, the decks that are running like the DCE Mewtwo, like Tornadus builds, they're two-shotting your Tornaduses. I mean, your Empoleons, and you're killing their
Landers, other things like that, pretty easily.
You're just killing. No, I was talking about the Eel builds that are running Mewtwo.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the DCE Mewtwo.
You're just killing their Eels, and they're two-shotting you, and you're crushing them. And
so it's a 4/0/4. We've talked about why that's good. We'll get into that in a minute. But there's 4 of my favorite cards in Standard. Close to it. Second favorite card in Standard. It's Ditto.
Is your favorite Empoleon still?
My favorite's Empoleon. My second favorite's Ditto. Can you tell us why Ditto's so just good in general, and then why it's great in this deck?
As much as Mew would like to disagree, Ditto is actually the most versatile card in this deck. Yeah, I'm just really trying to make puns. None of them are good.
Go away.
And we can't edit these. Like, we have to include all of this. Yeah, no. With Empoleon, you're trying to fuel Attack Command, so you end up wanting to pad your bench with basics. This guy is really good to make sure you have good starts, and it gives you more Pokemon to be able to fill your bench with early on. It allows you to play Emolga without having to run multiple copies of it, because you can reliably get it out on the first turn. Same thing with like a Landorus or whatever. Like, Landorus in some matches you just really don't want to open with, so you want to be able to use it, but you don't want to have to start with it in some games. It allows you to just like put a couple Dittos down. You don't have to expose your Piplups right away. Like, being able to in play that can become any one of your Pokemon while keeping like 70 hit points while in play early on is actually pretty good.
And keeping a bench while you're trying to attack with Attack Command.
Right, it's like one of the perfect decks for Ditto.
It is absolutely phenomenal in this deck, and I can't even get into it. It is truly versatile. I agree with him. And the one of my favorite cards in the deck, we're going to go right into Emolga. Call for Family gets 2 guys. Great in the Piplup deck, but what makes it even better is Ditto, because now you have incredible amount of
5 effective Emolga starts.
We have 2 Ultra Ball, 2 Pokemon.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if you have to open the Ultra Ball, unless you have to switch.
Yes,
like, you have to.
Yes, you're correct. We do have a lot of outs to get.
Like, hypothetically, Mew can.
Ditto's actually a phenomenal starter in this deck, guys. Like,
he's your ideal starter.
If you could start with Ditto, or I guess Emolga's your very, very ideal, but Ditto's even better. Yeah. Like, Ditto's even better. Like, Emolga's very good in this deck. Searchable with a lot of cards in our deck. We'll get to it in a minute. And you can put them on your Ditto. When you start Ditto, you can find Emolga, and it gets you a very good, strong Empoleon turn 2 attacking start. Emolga finding 2 basics, very powerful. The second most powerful besides a Piplup into Empoleon on turn 2, which makes Ditto a virtual broken time space, which we haven't talked about before because we've never had the option.
Just the interesting dynamics offered by Transform.
Transform, what it does is it makes it, if you're not familiar...
Yeah, pull up. There's probably some people who are not too familiar.
If you're not familiar, what he does is Ditto, while he's in play, you're allowed to put another basic on top of Ditto. Ditto then becomes that basic and acts as that basic. The first time I read this, I thought it did nothing. I just was like, oh, Ditto's nothing? He's just another guy? Okay, it's pretty bad. But then I thought, oh, well, Emolga, that's pretty good. And then I thought, wow, if you play him into a Piplup, then that means that Piplup's been in play for one turn as a Ditto. So that means you can rare candy into it through Empoleon, Prinplup if you wanted to play Prinplup, or even just varies your attackers with the X's, makes you a little less weak to maybe getting Catcher Strand, and very less weak to you getting Catcher killed on a Mew, which is a problem I've had in the past with playing Empoleon variants, which we'll get to Mew in a second.
Yeah, the other thing is, for people who've been playing longer, like this Ditto's effect seems somewhat minimal when you first think about it. But back in the day, there was a card called Swoop Teleporter, and it was one of my favorite cards ever printed. Saw a ton of play, and if you played with that card at all, you really begin to appreciate how good an effect like this is that allows you to get a Pokemon into play out of nowhere. Like Swoop Teleporter was very nice because it also searched your deck for it. But this is still because of the increased power of your cards like Pokemon Communication and Ultra Ball. It's pretty easy to get all of your Pokemon. So it's not as good as Swoop Teleporter, but it's pretty strong.
Yeah, and that's a ringing endorsement of that card.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. I think this is a bit of a sleeper card out of the set.
I think we talked about how this card goes on in a lot of things. I think we mentioned it being almost playable rails. We talked about being good in the big basics deck.
Because you were having a bunch of Dynamos and you can swoop into it.
We've talked a lot about Ditto. This is the Ditto deck, and it's also an Empoleon deck, so definitely one of my personal
This is a card that I think as more people test the format, it's going to find more and more use, going to find more homes, and I think that there's the opportunity to actually build some pretty complex decks with thinner evolution lines because you can use Dittos, and I think that there's some definite complex deck building strategies you can base around this guy that I think people haven't really explored as much yet. So I think there's a huge upside to that. I plan on picking up a real life set of Dittos just because I think there's some definite value to that card.
If you guys were wondering, the deck I'm going to be playing at Cities is this deck. I've been working on it for a very long time, so I'm very poured into this very deck. And one of the reasons I love it so much is this guy, Landers. He is really powerful in this deck. We've talked about how Hammerhead is a very good level card, but it's this shores up the electric kind of Eels matchup that you do have a very hard time against. He just puts down on.
And it's weird. You don't even really have that hard of a time against them. Otherwise, you go from being okay against them because you can just kill all their Eels and they're not running off of lightning attackers. They're running like a Zekrom, which you just kill with an Empoleon right afterwards because they don't really run like the Eviolites to make Bolt Strike particularly profitable for them.
Yeah.
But this it takes it from a close to possibly favorable matchup to
blowout.
Awful for them.
Absolutely very one-sided.
I mean, they can still win because if they get the perfect start, that doesn't ever lose.
I would say 60-40 if you're interested. We'll go into all the matchups.
Possibly, no, I think it's a little higher than that. But
yeah, true. Long-term.
This is coming from a massive Eels fan.
This long-term, possibly. The last card is Mew. The reason Mew is so powerful is because of attack command. You know what Versatile does. It allows you to choose the attacks of any Pokemon in play without using which still needing the energy type. So most of our energies do provide water. We're able to attack command. So that lets us either be our Ditto or our Mew, just playing them from our hand, killing a Mewtwo.
Yeah, Emolga, Landorus.
There's so many things, but it does kill Mewtwo. You just Versatile into attack command. That's the reason Mew's in here. Now, there are a lot of other possibilities we can play because of having 4 Ditto, having the energies we do have. We're going to talk those in a little bit. We're going to go right into the energies.
Why don't we touch on the Pokemon right now?
As they currently are, the 16 of them?
Okay. No, I mean what we could
what we could play? Terrakion is definitely an option.
We try to do
it's
that.
Something we have played in the past. Definitely high maintenance. That's something we're going to hit into in a minute. One thing I played personally that I loved a lot, I don't think we played it on camera, is Zekrom. I played Zekrom as a Out to Tornadus. Tornadus was kind of a big problem for me. I only 2-hit it, and what the thing about Tornadus is it's so low maintenance. They could just play a Tornadus, one dude on the bench, that's it. You don't even 2-hit it. It's very difficult to kill the guy.
Yeah.
So, and I was coming into that. So what you're able to do is just put up a Ditto, play a Zekrom, and pass with an energy on it or something like that. They hit it with 100 or 30 or 60 or whatever, and then you're hitting lethal for the most part. I was like, and it's been a very good strategy, and I thought it was very.
I mean, it's a little scary if they're running plus powers and stuff. Because then you.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the safest game plan, but it's another option. Is there any other options we ran on stream, or maybe something you've considered?
For the deck?
Yeah, for the deck.
One of the things I like considering was, first of all, one of the big problems the deck has is its game against Keldeo Blastoise is pretty poor.
Yes, we'll get into that.
And it's the main reason I'm not a big fan of the deck overall. It's not bad. I think that if Keldeo Blastoise tapered off in terms of popularity, I think Empoleon becomes a very good choice. One of the things that I was discussing with people and people had tested was, in place of fighting Pokemon, running like grass for like Shaman EX and stuff to try to give yourself some game against Keldeo. And the problem was that without the fighting, like you were still a little shy in the other matchups. So it's like you weren't even that good against against the Keldeo Blastoise. You were able to get up to like 50%, and you hurt your other matchups too much to make it worth it.
Yeah, maybe in our area, maybe with
yeah, it might be correct. But there might be a way to actually maybe play a few prisms over the fighting energies
and maybe
that we're running, and be able to run it alongside the Landorus. Like there might be a way to like tweak that, and that could be something interesting. But I haven't tested that enough, and I don't think just going Shaman for Grass over Landorus is worth it. I think if you can fit both, maybe. But the other thing with the Landorus that I don't think you touched on enough, and it seems somewhat just intuitive anyways, but Hammerhead doing 30 to things, like that 30 is so good when you have attack command.
You're right.
You can actually set up
it is huge.
a lot of kills with that.
It makes it so you don't have to rely as much on your opponent's bench as maybe you would need to. Now, this is maybe not killing EXs as to still, most of them have 170 HP minimum. So
if you get two of them, if you open with Landorus, and you get two shots off. You're setting up. You can set 2 X's for 1 shots out of Empoleon. So you can definitely
pretty incredible. And if you've ever taken 4 Plant Script in the tournament in any format, that's pretty good.
Random tangent. I witnessed at, I believe it was Worlds 2006 or 2000. I want to say it's 2006. I definitely witnessed 12 prizes taken in one turn.
Wow.
It was a Mew-Trick deck, which was Manectric EX with Mew EX. Okay. 100 hit points on Manectric EX and 90 hit points on Mew EX.
Okay. And, I know the 90 HP.
And they got hammered by a Rayquaza Star from the Deoxys set, which for, I think it was like 2 Fire, 2 Lightning. It might have been like 2 of one of those and then like a Colors or something too. But it literally does 100 damage to all EX Pokemon in play. And the Mew-Trick deck had all 6 EXs in play, all with less than 100 hit points. And that came out of nowhere and just lit them up for a nice 12 prizes.
I took 4 prize cards at Nationals 2010 with Gengar level X, but that's my most, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, you're never gonna match the 12.
12, I don't think 12 is a little unreasonable. Let's not get too deep into 12.
Back when Rayquaza was legal,
you probably took some ridiculous.
I mean, like 6 to 8 prizes was somewhat reasonable.
12.
I've only seen 12 once, and I feel like that guy shouldn't have benched some of those Pokemon at that point. I mean, it was well past
it took misplays to get there. All right,
yeah.
Here's the energies. We like to do this. We got 4 water, 2 fighting, and 4 water fighting, metal, electric,
blend.
Yes, hey, it's colorless. Yeah, you're right.
It's right in the middle of it.
10 energies, kind of basic. Like he said, there's a possibility to not play the fighting. A little bit more difficult. It makes it so that your blends are not good. You'd have to play more prisms or more basics to get the Empoleon attacking more often. But it's definitely an option that would make Shaman more on if you're playing in a Keldeo-based format. But I think we can collectively say that we like the fighting energies more, not only do the Landorus, but the ability to play to rake in if there's more Darkrai, which we're going to hit on when we hit to the trainers in a minute. But is there anything you want to talk about the energies, or do you think this is as good as it gets?
I think that this is a very introductory energy count. This is pretty much what we started off by just winging it and like, okay, we're going to put the 4 prisms in. How do we want to split up the fire and the water? Fightings, the prisms.
You always do.
I always do, yeah.
A blend.
Right. I mean, this is just kind of like the default we went to, and it played well.
It's played awesome.
Could it play better? Maybe. But we haven't had any issues with it, so we haven't really made any efforts to change it.
IRL, in real life, I've played this deck a lot, and I played the exact same energy count, no changes, even if I've changed the Pokemon or trainers. So I would definitely recommend this energy count for this deck.
Okay, yeah. Like, you've played this more than I have. We've played a few games on stream with it. And
10-1.
And I think the one was, we were getting banned during it, weren't we?
That was the game
we got banned in.
No, we played Town Hall, and we were moving to a different room, so we just quit. As we were winning.
Was that the...
Yes, that was it. And then we won it. It's on stream.
Then, if we won that game, then...
11-0. Okay, we're 11-0.
No, the loss, we definitely ended up taking the loss for that one game, because we had the Darkrai, we had the Landers killing Darkrai's, and then we just connected, and we got banned. And
we were playing the Landorus Mewtwo deck.
Was it the Landers Mewtwo one?
It's on stream, dude.
Okay.
Alright, so that's the energy. Like we said, go into the Pokemon section if you're interested.
Closing the deck's undefeated.
Here's the supporters. This is a little different. We usually like to play a lot more supporters, but Empoleon's an incredible card with leveling out your efficiency of the deck. So we're playing a little bit less cards that make us need a mass amount of cards to set up. So we're not playing Juniper as much. We're playing 4 Skyla and 4 N. The deck might very well be the best N deck in format.
Right.
Would you say
that? Or Eels.
Yes. And being very good against us and for us because of Diving Draw.
Well, us being good against N. And being good for us.
Oh yeah, it's oh man, when you're in a tie game, you get to end them to 2, and then get yourself up to 3 or 4 if you have 2
plus card selection,
absolutely phenomenal.
And then Skyla is the card that makes any kind of turn 2 evolution deck viable. It's it's your 8th copy of Rare Candy.
Oh yeah,
all the way up to it. And then once you get that up, it compounds the card advantage you get off of Diving Draw. You can just go nuts from there. And that's one thing I liked about Magnezone Prime back in the past couple of formats, and it's one of the things that I really like about Empoleon now. Yeah. It's not only an attacker, but it is your engine.
I cannot express how awesome it is when your best attacker is also your draw engine. It is a great feeling to go, hey, my best attacker set up. It really does. If you've never really played this card, it feels very cool to be like, man, my best thing I could be doing in my deck is everything. Drawing cards and attacking.
A couple points here. 2 Junipers. I don't know if I like not running more.
I think I do, but let me talk about it.
It's one of those things where you don't really want to be... Like, you're compiling cards in your hand, so you don't want to have to discard a lot because, like, your Diving Draw gets going.
Yeah.
And you end up, like, keeping only the cards that you want, so when you do that, having the Juniper kind of stinks. But it's such a powerful card that I think that it might still be best to play 4. It may be over the Biancas, but we don't have any full art Junipers, so it loses the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'll say that the reason I like 2 is because early game Juniper is incredible. Late game Juniper is very bad. It's the opposite end effect in a lot of the big basic decks. We've talked about how early game. I believe it was Keldeo. We like to play N over Juniper because it's bad late game. Well, this deck, man, when you have like 7 or 8 cards, you want a Juniper as early as you can. A lot of times, computer search for Juniper is just e-call, and I've done it on turn 1 a lot. But it could be. I think
because there's a point where once you get enough employment set up, you don't even really need your supporters.
Yeah, and that's
what's you can sit on a point where you don't really need to play them if you don't have to. You just need them as in. Sometimes, like, despite having Empoleons, like, you can definitely get into game states where you still want to hit a draw supporter off of N. So like, you have to have at least a couple of cards. So we did the split on Bianca and Juniper as your recovery stuff.
2 and 2.
Yeah, I don't know. It still might be better just to play the Junipers over the Biancas. I don't know. But there's actually another...
I like where we're at.
Okay.
The reason being, a lot of people say, hey, you're playing an Empoleon variant. Why are you playing Bianca? Well, I don't think you understand that we're playing a Stage 2 variant. That means we're playing a lot of cards. We're playing energies. We're playing Pokemon
think
collectors.
that your hand size gets bigger than it does.
You really think it was, but honestly, I don't think there's ever a point during the setup period of your game, which, to be fair, setup is not just turn 2. In this format, setup is turns 2 through, 5. It takes a long time to get set up and going into a real, we're going to fight and we're going to exchange period, So Bianca goes, hey, I'm going to draw 3 cards, minimum. A lot of times, Bianca is sharing. Minimum.
And a lot of times, mini Juniper.
It's just better. A lot of times being able to be like, hey, I need to keep this Pokemon Communication Blastoise in my hand, or, Empoleon in my hand, or Pokemon Communication Mew in my hand, and then I get to draw 4 cards, any of which could be rare candy or anything like that. It's very incredible.
One of the other things is, Diving Draw does technically net you an extra card, so people are often on the impression that you just get these really big hand sizes. But when you realize that you're discarding your dead cards and you're crafting hands of stuff that you can play, you actually end up with a very small hand size because the cards you're keeping, card selection, is stuff that you're able to just play immediately. You're compiling your Pokecoms and your rare candies and the things, your correct energy drops, so you actually keep a fairly small hand size. So Bianca's pretty good.
Of more applicable cards. Less cards, or a good number of cards with more applicable cards to the matchups. So I'd say, as far as playing the deck as much as I have, I love the 2 Juniper. 3 is definitely reasonable. But Bianca's an incredible card, and if you're playing Sharon, look into playing Bianca, because I think you play more cards from your hand than you Sharon. I definitely
we had 2 to begin with, and
it was gone. It was quick. It was quickly turned into Bianca, then out of the deck. So that's our supporters. We like the 2-2 split of Juniper and Bianca. 4 N because it's maybe the best N deck in format, and 4 Skylar because with the supporter ability of Empoleon, Skylar becomes very good in your half supporter.
So any Stage 2 deck runs 4 Skyless.
Yeah, that's
all. Maybe for almost all of my decks run 4 Skyless. But yeah, obviously we have the 4 candies in here.
And there's
the 1 computer search.
Something else we always play, that's for computer search. If you're playing, okay, I will say, normally we like to say if you're not playing computer search, you're doing it wrong. We love that.
That's because it's correct.
I have seen this deck play Gold Potion. The first person gave me this deck was playing Gold Potion, and I didn't mind it. It definitely wasn't bad. It's not nearly as good as computer search. I will say that. Is that fair? Not nearly as good as computer search.
I'm not budging. It's actively Gold Potion is actively just basically worse than Max Potion in this deck because you have everything attacks for 1. I will take the Max Potion hit. Then play computer search.
I would maybe play.
There are some decks where hypothetically I would be okay with doing where Gold Potion being better than Max Potion is maybe reasonable, but this is definitely not one of those.
Darkrai, maybe just Darkrai, but
that wants computer search so bad to set up Dark Patches.
Yeah.
So
computer search. So maybe if you're playing Darkrai, if your format's literally nothing but Darkrai Hydreigon, play Gold Potion. If not, you're playing computer search. Not a lot to say. That card's incredible. So we're going to go into the one-ofs in the deck. The first one, we have an energy search.
Pretty simple.
Awesome. It's we were playing 4 Scala. This is Stage 2 deck, so we're playing 4 Scala.
We're running 2 types of basic energies.
Oh, yeah, so
it's 11th energy, which is pretty much where I want to be in this deck.
I've started a lot of times Ditto, Ultra Ball, and Skyla. And, I've had the decision of, hey, am I going to go aggro Landorus here, or am I going to set it for next turn with a Emolga? That's a lot of questions you have to make for yourselves. Something you have to make with planning, but it's the options you have with this deck. It's absolutely incredible. And the more you play with this deck, you see that you have a varied amount of options, and Energy Search just adds to that. Another one-of we have in the deck is Max Potion. We talked about how good Gold Potion is in the deck. May or may not be. Max Potion is way better. Max Potion, your best attacker, actually all of your attackers for the most part, besides Landorus when you're playing against Darkrai, is 1 energy. So you just go, hey, you want to hit me for 100 here? Boom, Max Potion. Now
it's too good to not play one of with the deck. It's actually not as good as you think it would be, but it's definitely good enough to play one of it.
The reason
you have 4 Skylas, you have inevitability to draw into it off of your Empoleon's diving draws.
Yeah.
You'll get to it, you can get it reliably, and there's usually at least one point in a game when the card's going to be very good.
The reason I love it so much is because while your opponents are two-shotting your Pokemon, because besides Rayquaza, not a lot of stuff is killing 100 40 HP stage 2. You know, it's pretty
Especially
difficult.
Lightning, honestly, being a slightly less played type now than it had been for the past 2 years.
If you're playing even
Luxray even was like Luxray into Magnezone into like the Eel decks. Like Lightning is one of the top decks.
If you were even playing last format, which is Zekroms, where Zekrom was just wild, this deck card wouldn't be good in this deck. But now you're just like, hey, I'm going to 2-shot your EX.
Still good.
You're going to 2-shot my Empoleon. But guess what? In the middle of all this, I'm going to heal my Empoleon. So I'm going to kill your EX.
Break Surf.
You're not going to kill this. It's awesome. You're right. It is. That's a great point. Break Surf. It's an incredible card for Empoleon in general. The last one we're playing Super Rod. Hey.
Yep, that was right.
There's a rare.
I knew that. I saw that one coming.
Damn it! Here's a Super Rod. Guess. No!
Rare candy, yeah.
No! Super Rod. Here's a Super Rod.
Switch.
Guys, Super Rod. You play it most of the time. I think there's only one deck we haven't played it in so far, and it was our deck that was playing this card we call First Ticket.
And we were considering putting Super Rod in anyway.
Not much to say. Definitely play it, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Looks like this one still has
That's
that
your
a tool
switch.
scrapper?
That's a 4-switch.
Is
That is a tool scrapper, yes.
We have a tool scrapper in this one, too. I'm sorry, guys. We're playing a tool scrapper.
EBO can actually mess you up pretty bad if they can keep a small bench.
Yeah.
You have to run it.
So one thing we were going to talk about when we got to a card like this is Terrakion, a card that we could be playing, that we were playing. But there was a reason we weren't, and that's because the card came with a very high level of maintenance. One of the cards that we had to play was, we're playing 2 of it right now, Switch. Terrakion is it's a high maintenance card. We were playing 3 Switch and Energy Switch. We talked about it before. Energy Switch, moving 1 basic energy allows your Terrakions to be, hey, I'm going to play my Terrakion off my Ditto, Energy Switch, and attack with my energy attachment for turn. Made it very powerful. Ditto attaching an energy in this format, it's a lot of times very suspicious. A lot of people kind of target that because there's a format where Gust is a card, and Gust is a really good card. Probably the best card.
Yeah, it's the best card. Well, computer search.
Yeah,
It still might be Gust.
So we're not playing Terrakion because just how much it hurts you. We're still playing
You can hypothetically try to run it, but I feel like Darkrai is not seeing as much play as it was. And I don't
That's
feel
the
like
best card it's good against, guys. Don't let anyone question you. Darkrai might just be the best card that card's good against.
Well, Terrakion for sure. That's
for sure.
The main reason to play it. I mean, this is also a deck that doesn't have to fear like Sigilyph. Like you don't have to.
It's awful against this deck. It's awesome.
Yeah, like you're doing some pretty big damage still. I feel like the upside of running the Terrakion wasn't justifying the number of cards. Like you'd have to run 1 to 2 Energy Switch, which is not even an awful card in here regardless, because it does let you get the Empoleon kind of built up.
It's kind of like a really bad Energy Switch in this deck, because you can just switch, and then,
The problem was that it was something that you could consider playing a one of anyways, but I don't really like it enough to want to do that. But you're running a bunch of cards that you don't really need to run additional copies of, plus you're having to run the Terrakion, and you can still kind of win games off of just the Landers against the Fighting League decks. You're not bad against them regardless. So I just feel like the upside of running it isn't going to be justifying the amount of card spots you have to put in there. Plus, starting Terrakion is really slow. Like you do have the Dittos to pad the numbers of basics.
I started Terrakion into that deck, and that was just awful. If you didn't have the Skyla, you're pretty not doing it. That's the one-ups we are playing. Like again, tool switch.
We're going with the 2 switch.
We've talked about the 2 switch.
Did we touch on the 1+ power? I don't think we did.
Is there a plus power? Yes, we have. Right now, currently, we have 1 plus power. Plus power is interesting in this deck.
He's not a fan of it. I like it.
Yeah, I'll go into why I don't like it necessarily. I ended up cutting it for the 3rd level ball. The reason I'm playing the 3 level ball with Ditto, it makes Emolga absolutely incredible in the deck, which we've already talked about why it's so good, but it just makes it that much better. Also, it's just a Piplup or a Ditto, just to fill the bench for attack command, or fill it a lot more with Emolga. Makes your start a little better. But plus power is good. I'll concede that it doesn't let your opponent play as much as you are. Like, let's say you have a full bench. That means you only have 60 power in play, 70 if your opponent only has 1. Most of the time, it lets you not let your opponent dictate what you're doing, which I like a lot, because there's some decks in this format, like big basics, that are not going to be playing a lot of bench space.
Do you want me, let me go with why I...
Yeah, why do you like it? Why do you like that?
It deals 10 additional damage. Do you want me to go deeper than that? Okay, fine.
No.
I'll go deeper than that. I think that one of the things I like when you have 4 Skylas in the deck, and you're dealing with a attack that fluctuates like attack command, you can really manipulate opponents into assuming that if they play it just one under, if you have your full bench, they will get greedy and try to
overcommit, maybe.
Will commit just perfectly.
Under
to the point where
they
undercommit to stave off a KO or a 2-hit KO, and they will very rarely play around a plus power.
All right.
And just because of the fact that it's a one-up, there will be a huge number of times throughout a game where you can find a plus power having some really powerful spot.
Yes.
And because they will have to pick at least some point throughout the game where they're somewhat vulnerable.
Sometimes
it will be a semi-blank, but it's kind of like Warp Point, where it doesn't have a direct purpose, but you can find a number of spots where it ends up being effective, and it's really hard to say, well, here's a specific scenario where it's going to be incredibly powerful. But as you play with the deck, you just realize it's so versatile that there's a lot of spots where it ends up being useful, even if it's just, like, people are pretty, like, feel safe with their combat math, basically.
All right, Warp Point is catch or switch, dude, in the same card. But I'm not going to talk about that. But I do very much agree with you. Plus power does have its place. I like it a lot.
It punishes otherwise correct play, which is something I like being able to do when I have a deck with 4 Skylas and I have a deck with Diving Draw. You see a ton of cards.
You're going to see a bunch of cards.
It's something that being able to have as an option, because people are going to actually, like, good players will be trying to play around you correctly, and that beats good players, which is awesome. Like, that's exactly where I want to be in a deck like this.
The only reason I like the level ball is that with a consistent deck like this, it makes it just that much more deadly. If I was going into a regionals, or I guess even a cities with a large amount of people, I think I'd like the level ball just over slightly, because I'd like to have my better setup draws than my ones where I can catch a guy sleeping. Or not even sleeping, because, I mean, it will get the good players.
I would put him to sleep. Plus power.
Plus power will put him to sleep. So, one card we were playing, 2 level ball gets Pip up in this deck, it gets Ditto, and it gets Emolga. Emolga creates a lot better starts. We're only playing 2, though. I would like 3. You like 2.
I'm real happy with the 2 count on that.
2 is fine. 2 is fine. 3 is better. You know, it's better just for reasons I said. It gets dudes on bench. But
additional copies is always better unless you're dealing with Bianca.
Bianca has a limit of 2. Here's a card, Pokemon Catcher. How many do we have? Like 4?
I thought that was a misclick, but I guess we're actually...
Pokemon Catcher, incredible. We're an aggressive deck. We like to kill the little versions of things because we're faster than most things.
Right, because we're in a situation where we're not one-hitting the big attackers all that often.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we want to get the free kills with Empoleon. Like, that's really the deck's game plan.
If we can cripple the Keldeo deck, it's the only out we have. But again...
It's not that bad.
Well, we'll get into that at the end, but it can kill a lot of different things. And Catcher's always really good against those types of decks. Next one we got is one of my favorite cards that's ever been created, honestly. Pokemon Communication. Pokemon Trader. It changes one dude for another. We're playing,
Pokemon Trader never really saw play back in the day either.
It's really good right now, man.
Because everyone was just playing basics, and you had Computer Search and Oakenville.
We went back to 16. We have 16 dudes. That makes it for one of the only decks that Pokemon Communication is really good at. Because Pokemon Communication needs a bunch of dudes to have the frequency to be able to go, hey, this guy's not as good as the other guy.
Yeah, and one of the funny things was, like, if you look back a couple years ago, we had decks like Gengar that were running like...
I played that.
Yeah, they were like Gengar builds that had like 28 Pokemon in them.
Oh my god.
Nidoqueen and Dusknoir and stuff. Like, they have 28 Pokemon, and now we're like, well, we had to... This is the only deck that's running 16. So.
I definitely played 29 Pokemon in my Nationals deck that I may talk about with. It's absolutely absurd that there was that many Pokemon in that deck.
Yeah.
That half of them were just Pokemon.
I mean, Pokemon right now, Tom seems a little less played because you have cards like Ultra Ball. You have a lot of options for Pokemon Search right now.
Definitely very good in this deck with the high density of Pokemon and Ditto. Again, makes for better nut draws, if you will. One card we're going to get back into, the last Pokemon Search card, is Ultra Ball. We're playing 2. We used to have 1. We cut a card for it because Ultra Ball is just that good.
It's my favorite. I like it more than Level Ball in here, to be honest.
I agree.
Like,
because
except you wanted to add the 3rd Level Ball.
Oh, no.
Opposed to a 3rd Ultra Ball.
Because Ultra Ball, and I'll talk about that right here, is because Ultra Ball was getting cards like Empoleon, a lot more than it needed to. Like I was drawing hands off of, because still this is a format where you're drawing a lot off of a random draw type effect, like an N or a Juniper or even a diving draw. That's another random draw we're getting. So Ultra Ball's a lot better because Ultra Ball can just get that basic early game or late game it can get that Empoleon. And Level Ball's not getting that Empoleon, but Level Ball's initiating stronger starts.
So they can get the same stuff with the Ultra Ball. You usually have enough.
It's Empoleon. It's Empoleon.
It's Empoleon. Yeah.
It's actually. I think I've gotten Landorus with this card, or Empoleon with this card.
I feel that
Piplup with this Piplup with this card. Very little. Most
Baby
of the time,
Penguin.
Baby Penguin. I'm mostly just getting Big Boy Penguin or Landorus, but sometimes you just need it, and I like the 2. I like where I'm at 2, even though I actually think it is better than, obviously, always better than Level Ball. But in this deck, it might just be worse to play the 2 of it.
You end up, one of the things is that this deck does discard a lot.
Oh, yeah, because Shooter and Diving Draw. Oh yeah,
and like the Ultra Balls, the Diving Draws, Computer Search. I think it's safe enough that you can play more Ultra Balls, but I mean, you played the deck more than I have, so
I think I would recommend the 2 and the 3 Level Ball, but you know what? I would definitely recommend you goldfishing it around because this is a deck that can goldfish better than a lot of other ones. We got 4 red candies. I don't think we have to mention why playing 4 Scala, 4 red candy with a 4-0-4 line of the best mid-range attacker in the game is good, but we will.
Yeah.
I mean, if
you want it out turn 2.
If you got a turn 2 Empoleon guys, you're probably killing some guys. Most of the time, unless they have a 180 or 170 HP guy. And I don't know why that's ever bad. But most of all, guys, that's the deck. That's the
what is the card left to the plus power? Did we touch on that?
Yeah, are you talking about this one?
Yeah.
I believe this one is Level Ball.
What is the one? Wait, no, I think there's...
You're right. I didn't hit this one. This was
the next question. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
I couldn't remember if we had that.
Misclicks in real life. Yeah, so this is the Empoleon deck that we are playing. I've seen a bunch of different Empoleon decks out there.
Including Gore.
Including Empoleon. I saw a deck which is actually really cool. Empoleon Excelgor. Now, the idea would be to Excelgor can just be like Shellgun Excelgor, DC attack, have the Empoleons to go, and then the Dittos and Mews to recreate the attack with either an Excelgor in play and replaying the Mew as a basic, or replaying the Shellgun Excelgor DC in your hand off of a Ditto that you have in play as a BTS.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It feels like Keldeo messes
awful against Keldeo.
The problem is every deck kind of on that. So
there's a lot of decks that are just bad against that.
It's really good against basic yellow.
Basic yellow sucks against this deck, even though it is yellow and the Empoleon.
You'd think that being yellow that it would have a very good Empoleon game.
Not very.
Yellow is traditionally very good against blue.
In Pokemon, yes. In Magic, no, there's no yellow.
And nothing's good against blue.
Very true. And we got Landorus. That's good against yellow. But Keldeo, the reason it's not very good is they just have a consistent... they have.
Well, I was stuffing
not the Excelgor.
Yeah, let's purge that one from our minds.
That pipe dream is out the window, folks. We're going to go back to this deck. The reason Keldeo's very good against this deck is not only is when you're playing DC, it makes it so aggressive that you have a very hard time setting up because you are a Stage 2 deck. Stage 2 deck, don't get me wrong, this may be a fast deck, but it doesn't necessarily save you from catcher being good against you. But, man, it really messes with your math. It messes with your Dittos being as versatile as you would like them to, and it just makes it be...
A lot of the problems is that you can't play Landorus because they get one-shotted.
Yes, Landorus are...
You're always two-shotting their Pokemon, and it can be worse because they can function with a Blastoise and a Keldeo in play, at which point you're hitting for 80.
If you're one-shotting them and they're one-shotting you...
They're one-shotting you and you're two-shotting them.
You cannot win because they will find a way to... Yes, if you go like, yes, I'm going to start the one-shotting and I'm going to two-shot you...
That's another reason why the plus power is kind of nice.
Right.
Because if they do try to... You can actually play around that a little bit.
They can play into a situation where Blastoise Keldeo is just correct. That's a very good line of play that someone can make against you, but also in general, just Keldeo doesn't work. The math doesn't work out necessarily.
No, I mean, it turns into situations
Landorus
where...
is just an unplayably bad card. Mew is just an unplayably bad card because they're just going to kill it.
No, you're in a situation
you're not in a
where
good spot.
you can't like they don't have a spot where you have basics on the bench that they can catch her. So what you're doing is you're two-shotting an Empoleon, not Empoleon, but you're two-shotting a Keldeo, which is 2 prizes, and they're generally going to start one-shotting your Empoleons.
Yeah,
and at that point you'd think it's like, okay, well, it's every 2 turns you're taking 2 prizes, which seems favorable for you, or at least doable for you. Yes. And then you realize very quickly that the situations where you're not two-hitting them, because if they do keep it down to just a Keldeo and a Blastoise,
that's a 3-shot, and that's
a 3-shot without a plus power.
That's
and if
an
they have
unwinnable situation.
They don't run Eviolite, but if they did, it's even worse.
Oh, jeez.
And they could definitely do that. But the other thing is that they have all huge hit point guys. All their basics are EXs. Their Blastoise, once they get the one Blastoise out, they don't put down any extra Squirtles because you can't one-shot it. So what ends up happening is you have to fill your bench with stupid stuff.
Yeah, you have to have Piplups and Dittos and crap like that.
They break up this 2-for-2 exchange, this 2 prizes every 2 exchange, by just like, okay, fine, we'll do a couple of 2-for-2 exchanges, and then we're just going to pick off your bench. Oh, you can't pick off their bench.
I'm going to say this, guys. Their catchers, no matter what deck you're playing, the catchers your opponent's going to play late game, mid game, are going to be better than yours most of the time because they are always going to get a prize card no matter what. You're going to have to leave a Piplup out there to die. You're going to have to leave a Ditto out there to die. You may even have to play an EX out there that when you wouldn't want to maybe get stranded only playing the 2 switch.
Like playing Zoroark.
Yeah. It's just something, it's just an out you have to play.
Being forced to play that Darkrai into the Terrakions.
Yeah. But, what I'll say is if there's a lot of Keldeo out there, guys, it might not be the strongest deck. I'm going to play it because I think that Empoleon is a very powerful card, and long-term, in the consistency standpoint, you may get a little bit stronger draws than most decks. So I think that maybe I'm going to be a little bit justified playing a more consistent deck in a big tournament like a regionals, or definitely cities if we can get 80 people again, God forbid.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that you're going to get 80 people, 35 of them are going to play Keldeo.
Oh, jeez. And I'll hit them round 1 and go from there. I'll lose to the guy playing Mirror, etc. Right. But this is the deck I'm going to be playing. Hopefully you guys like it. If you have any questions as to what you would be playing in Empoleon or what you are currently playing in Empoleon, ask us. This is definitely a very
Alex Shot pet project.
Yeah, this my favorite deck I've ever played is actually Arceus. And funny story about that, about unwinnable matchups, is I played Machamp round 2 of the regionals at top 16. I beat him. That guy sucked. I was like, I walked out.
Do we know who it was?
Nope.
Can we give him a name just so we can pretend to call him out on the street?
David.
David?
David?
David.
I was going to go with Steve, but David.
Steve?
Other David.
What about Stephen David?
Stephen David.
There it is. He just crushed Stephen David. Round 2 of regionals on his path.
Stephen David from Peoria, Illinois. You're done, son. It was just awesome because I walk around and I go, hey guys, man, apparently the Machamp Arceus matchup is just very good for me.
It's absolutely disgustingly bad for you.
Got him. Actually, I think I may have accidentally cheated into that matchup, but we'll get to that later. So, guys, if you're going to be playing...
Yeah, he only started with 3 prizes.
If you're going to be playing with Empoleon, please let us know if you have any ideas or if you're playing a very different brew than us. So,
there's options for it.
Oh, it's a deep card. So everybody, for former national champion Chris Fulop, my name is Alex Schacht. Thank you from NEOStreams. We'll see you soon.